I'd like to take a moment to share with you what I thought was a solid conversation with a new client. It's my hope that what I shared with her is a help to you the way it was to her. She's 37 years old. She's in an off and on relationship, she said, for 3 years with a 42-year-old man. She said to me, Doc, I'm coming to you because this situation is very painful to me. I have not been able to figure out why I cannot break free from this grip that I believe he has on me. And I knew you would be honest and you could maybe shed some light on this. I said, well, what's going on? She said, well, it's been off and on. And one minute he can be very charming. The next minute he can be very difficult to be around. One minute he can shower me with praises. The next minute he can become very detached and very disassociated with the relationship. I said, is this random? She said, well, sometimes it can be. She said, but most times it's after a argument or a disagreement. She said, but even it can be random sometimes, or I can think things are going well and he just disappears and just falls back. I said, interesting. I said, do you know his attachment style? She said, it's funny you asked that. I have been doing some research on it. I think I have an idea. She said, but that stuff was a little too complicated for me. I said, tell me about his childhood. She said, well, his parents divorced when he was 6 years old. His dad left the house, but then his mom pursued his dad and tried to make it work. His dad had several girlfriends in town. He found out when he was around 9 or 10 years old that his dad was seeing several different women. But during that 2 to 3 year period of time post-divorce, him and his mom were going back and forth. They were still trying to work it out. I said, who was pursuing that relationship? She said, his mom. I said, who was he living with? She said, his mom. I said, interesting. She said, well, she was pursuing his father, and they would be on 1 minute and off 1 minute. Her boyfriend told her that they would be together and things would be fine for 2 or 3 months. They have an argument. His father would disappear for a week or two, sometimes for months at a time, and then come back. And this cycle continued as he was a child. She then began to get very upset and cry on the call. I said, man, why are you upset? She said, because I got a feeling of what he is, but I just don't know how to deal with it. I said, what do you think he is? She said, I think he's dismissive, avoidant. I said, he is. And let's talk about this. I said, ma'am, do you understand how our attachment styles are born? She said, I've heard that they're connected to childhood. I said, I want to be more specific than that. Childhood is a big part of it. I said, but our attachment styles are born as a result of our relationship with our caregivers, primarily, right? That can be a parent, that can be a guardian, but that can also be extended to people that have the closest relationships with us. And a lot of times that may not be a parent. It could be a grandparent. It could be your first relationship. It could be a teacher. It could be a lot of different things. But our attachment styles are born through our caregiver, primarily relationships. And there are 3 big attachment styles that I want you to think about. And I'm only going to spend time on one of them. I said, just know this, that anytime we're in a connection with someone, a connection of any sort, especially if it is a serious connection, that every style has a parachute that style goes to when that connection we have mirrors the connection we have with our caregivers. I said, I'll put this simply. If you're anxious and you're in a relationship right now, and that relationship or that connection gets serious, when there are challenges there, you will begin to become anxious or in need in that relationship because it most reflects your connection with your caregivers. You were comfortable being anxious as a child. A relationship could actually be going well, and you might self-sabotage it. Why? Because you are naturally comfortable being what? She started to cry. She said, being anxious. I said, that's your attachment style, isn't it? She said, it is. How did you know? I said, number one, I could tell just from the questions that you've asked and the detail that you've given me. I said, but number two, an anxious attachment style and an avoidant attachment style go together like peanut butter and jelly. I'll get to that in a second. I said, the second style I want you to know is the secure style. When a secure person is in a relationship, and we should all strive to be secure, when they're in a relationship or connection with someone and things get a little rough or rocky, they throw out a parachute too, but that parachute looks like being sure, being confident, being self-assured. Why? Because in their relationship with their caregiver, that's what was modeled to them. Does that make sense? She said, it does. I said, and the avoidant isn't different. I said, man, when an avoidant is in a relationship or connection with someone and things get rocky, they're going to throw out a parachute. I said, but what is that parachute going to look like? She said, they're going to run. They're going to be an avoidant. They're going to be dismissive. I said, you're exactly right. I said, they're going to be elusive. And that's what we're dealing with. I said, that's a layman's overview. I said, but I want to give you 3 specific signs of avoidant behavior. And this is why, in my humble opinion, ma'am, It is impossible to be in a relationship with a dismissive avoidant because they'll destroy you. I said, number one clear sign of avoidant behavior is that they only want to love you on your own terms. She bursted out crying. I said, man, while you're crying, I'm going to keep talking because I need you to hear this. I said, do you have any cats? She said, I do. I said, let me ask you a question about your cats. I said, when you chase your cats, what do? She said, they take off running. I said, why? She said, that's in their nature. I said, why is it in their nature? She said, because if you chase a cat, they're going to run away from you. I said, how do you get the cat to come to you? She said, you stop chasing it. She put her head down, started to cry some more. I said, ma'am, avoidants are much like cats. It is common for a cat to run away from people. That's a common thing. But when a cat runs away from you, how do you feel? She said, I feel terrible. I said, why? She said, because I want that cat's attention. I said, ma'am, what is common to an avoidant becomes manipulative to you. She said, yikes. I said, this isn't very difficult to understand. I said, number two, avoidants have extreme or toxic communication styles. I said, there's rarely a middle ground when you're dealing with an avoidant. I said, have you ever been on a roller coaster? She said, I have. I said, have you ever been on a roller coaster that just does like this for 2 minutes? She said, I haven't. I said, why? She said, they don't make them that way. I said, why don't they? She said, I don't know, doc. I said, how would you think your stomach would feel if you got on a roller coaster and it did this for 3 minutes? She said, I'd probably puke everywhere. I said, that's what toxic communication looks like when you're dealing with a dismissive avoidant. I said, because they can either be great communicators or poor communicators or no communicators at all. They can either have hot behavior or they can be what? She said, stone cold. I said, ma'am, it's the lack of consistency that makes an avoidant an extremely toxic communicator, which means they can be very complimentary at one moment. The next moment, they can be very difficult to even talk to. I said, and this is heightened when you have what? She said, problems. I said, exactly. I said, because when you have problems with an avoidant, they throw out what? She said, the parachute. I said, and then they become what? They're probably either up or down, hot or cold. I said, exactly. You see how easy that is to understand? I said, here's the third thing that they are. I said, they are runners. I said, they are runners. And not only are they runners, but they are runners, especially when things feel chaotic. I said that this chaos is interesting because for an avoidant, they will grow to find comfort in chaos growing up as a child. I said, your ex was used to his father not being around, so he could live with that. I said, but when it becomes too much for them, they will run or divert. In other words, ma'am, they'll be able to function for a while in chaos and actually return to it. But when it becomes too much, they'll take a break and need a break from it. I said, recently I was in New York and there was a gentleman that was jackhammering on the sidewalk. If you've ever been on Times Square, you've seen that. And there was a big parade going on. He was jackhammering. And I was thinking to myself, all of this music and noise and acrobats and stuff going on, this guy's still jackhammering. How can he concentrate? And I remember being right there at a food stand and I got some food. And then finally he just stopped. He laid the jackhammer down, took off his glasses, just walked off and stood over in the corner, not on his phone, and just stood there. I said, what was he doing? She said, probably taking a break. I said, why? She said, he was probably tired. I said, he was probably tired. I said, but wasn't he using that jackhammer in the middle of a parade with a bunch of noise? She said he was. I said, how was he able to? She said, because he was used to the chaos. I said, then why did he take a break? She said, because the chaos became too much. I said, that's what an avoidant does. An avoidant is a master at being able to live in chaos for a while. But when it becomes too much, they'll do what? She said, they'll take off running. I said, ma'am, the main reason why people struggle to recover from dismissive avoidance is because your brain cannot disconnect how they left from who they are. I said, and this is especially the plight of the anxiously attached, because in your brain, you can't separate all the sweet things he said to you from all of the piss poor ways he treated you. And this is your problem. I gave her a moment. I said, ma'am, your mind has to let go of who you thought he was. And for a second, I need you to snap out of this emotion and become a dude that is healed with solid emotions and let your logic think first. I said, this situation needs your logic and not your emotions, because your emotions are reminding you of the things that he said that were sweet, the things that he did that were sweet, the ways he's handled you that were sweet. But your logic needs to tell you that his behavior is up and down. He only wants to love you on his own terms. And not only that, he lacks stability and self-awareness. I said, ma'am, until you are honest about that, it is literally impossible for you to be able to recover from this relationship with this dismissive avoidant. And I said, and for that reason, it is nearly impossible to be in a relationship with a dismissive avoidant until they realize what these challenges are and correct them. She was very complimentary, very thankful. We're now on session 3 or so, and she's doing much better. And I'm pleased to say that. I hope this story made sense.